I was adopted when I was a baby. Growing up, I never really thought much about it. My adoptive parents, Diane and Mark, always treated me like I was their own. I had a normal life, a happy one, for the most part. But around the time I turned 16, I started to wonder, who were my real parents? Where did I come from? Why did they give me up? It wasn't something I talked about with Diane or Mark. I knew it would hurt them. They had always been so protective of me, so careful to make sure I never felt like I was missing anything. But a part of me needed to know. So when I was 16, I started looking, quietly. Online, forums, Facebook groups for adopted kids trying to find their birth parents. I didn't expect anything to come of it. But then, about 6 months ago, something happened. I found them. Well, they found me. It was a message on Facebook, an account with no picture and a name I didn't recognize, JM Parent Finder. The message was short, just a few lines. "We've been looking for you for so long. We didn't have a choice. Please let us explain. We want to meet." I was suspicious, but they knew things that no one could have known unless they were my real parents, my original birth name, the name of the adoption agency, the small details of where I was born, all the stuff my adoptive parents had been careful to keep private. So I believed them. We started talking. Little by little, they told me about themselves. They had been young when they had me, too young to take care of a baby. They had tried, but it was too much. So they made the hardest decision of their lives and gave me up for adoption. They never stopped looking for me, though. They said they always wondered where I was, if I was happy, if I'd hate them if we ever met. I didn't tell Diane and Mark. I knew it would hurt them. I knew they'd feel betrayed. This was something I had to do on my own. I wanted to meet my real parents, just once, to see if it would fill the gap that had been growing inside me for years. We planned to meet on the night before my 18th birthday. I'd be legally an adult, and I wouldn't need permission to go anywhere. Still, I didn't want Diane and Mark to know, so I decided to sneak out. My parents, the ones I was about to meet, agreed. They said it would be too hard for me to explain everything right now, that it was better to keep it between us until we had a proper reunion. So, I packed a small bag and snuck out of the house that night. My heart was racing, but it was more from excitement than fear. I was finally going to meet them. We were meeting at a gas station just outside of town, a place I knew but never really paid much attention to. They said they would pick me up there and take me to their home for the weekend. When I got there, it was dark and mostly empty. A few cars were parked near the pumps, and off to the side I saw an old, beat-up minivan. The headlights flashed twice when I approached. That was them. I took a deep breath and walked over. As I got closer, I could see them, a man and a woman sitting in the front seats, smiling at me. The woman waved and I smiled back. This was it, my real parents. I climbed into the back seat. The van smelled faintly of old leather and fast food, but I didn't care. I was here. I was finally with them. "Hi, sweetheart," the woman said, turning to face me. "You have no idea how long we've been waiting for this." Her voice was warm, and she reached out to squeeze my hand. The man didn't say anything, just smiled and started the van. We pulled out of the gas station, heading down a road I didn't recognize. They asked me about my life, how school was, if I had any close friends, if Diane and Mark were treating me well. It all felt normal. A little stilted, maybe, but I figured they were just nervous, too. It's not every day you meet your kid after almost 2 decades. After about 15 minutes, the road turned darker, and I started noticing we were heading away from town. The trees became denser, the houses sparser. It was subtle, but something in the air changed. My stomach knotted, but I told myself it was just nerves. "We're almost there," the woman, Julia, she said her name was, said with a smile. I nodded, watching the dark road ahead. But then she asked, "So, how much money did they leave you with?" I blinked, caught off guard. "What?" "For school," she clarified. "How much did your parents leave you? You know, college funds, savings." That's when something clicked. The casualness of the question, the focus shifting to something material. I shrugged it off, laughing nervously, thinking maybe it was just an awkward attempt at small talk. A few minutes later, Julia asked, "Have you ever left the house alone like this before?" I froze. No, not really. Just with friends sometimes." "Good," she said softly, as if reassuring herself. "That's good." The atmosphere in the van changed. My palms started sweating. Something wasn't right. Why did that question make me feel so wrong? The road became bumpier and we passed a no trespassing sign, turning onto a dirt path. It was dark now, darker than it should have been. The trees closed in around us, their branches clawing at the van. "How much farther is it?" I asked, my voice shaking a little. "We're almost there," the man, Matt, said, speaking for the first time. His voice was low, too low. I glanced at the door handle. "Can I use my phone? Just to let them know I'm safe?" Julia's smile widened, too wide. "No need for that, sweetheart. You're with us now." It was in that moment I knew. The truth hit me like a punch to the gut. These weren't my parents. They never were. Everything had been a lie. I reached for the door handle, panic setting in, but it was locked. The van slowed, coming to a stop in the middle of the woods. Matt turned in his seat, his eyes gleaming in the dark. "It's time for you to meet your real family,"